Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Mediator. My name is Amandeep Singh. I'm your host, and today we have a special guest all the way from Saigon. Welcome, Alok.
Yeah, hi Aman. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I think I'm really happy, and it's been like a long time since we have chatted.
Seriously,
So
man, it has been a
yeah,
long time.
yeah. So something formal,
Yeah,
kind of coming to fruition. Yeah, it's interesting.
yeah. No, I was thinking that apart from doing this whole marketing mediator, which is we spoke about it, right? So my
Hmm.
whole idea is that it sounds like a puzzle to a lot of people, people inside marketing, advertising, and of course people who are outside. So the
Hmm.
idea is that we talk to like different people, like speaking to you today, a
Yeah.
from different functions, strategy, creative, business, client side. And another thing which I wanted to do was to speak to people who are in different markets, who have exposure to different markets. And I thought it would be a great idea, since you have worked obviously in India and you've been in Vietnam for a long time. So I thought it would be a great idea to have you. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for inviting. Thanks once again.
Cool. So, Alok, my first question would be, of course, I know you from a lot of years. We have worked together. You work in strategic planning.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'm really interested to know that how did you get into the whole strategy piece?
I think it's a long story though. Life before advertising or strategy as a role was completely different. So I don't know if you know, but I did my engineering.
Hmm.
Then
I
I
do,
did
I do.
then I did my MBA in marketing. And actually, I had always I had like since I think in my college days I was really entrepreneurial. I was really active in like extracurricular. So more like out of the classroom than inside the classroom. So I think that I already had that kind of drive in a way
Hmm.
to be more in front or be more active in uh, like creating or even communicating those activities. I was also like a part of a magazine that we used to publish every year. I was like a secretary, like the magazine secretary of the whole college magazine and stuff. So we used to design the cover page and
Nice.
edit the articles and like different sections, stuff like that. So I think I had that kind of a background. So I was always curious. And then when I studied marketing, I remember we had some professor of economics, and he always used to say that you should do some specialization.
Hmm.
And I think in marketing we study a lot about communication, like 4 P's and 4 C's and stuff like that, and also get some kind of exposure to doing advertising stuff, like we will
Hmm.
have some project or stuff like that. So I think from there I always thought curious about advertising, of course, and I think it's a really integral part of our day-to-day living. Like we open
Hmm.
a television and we see ads, and that's how also we grew up. So yeah, I think from there, then I decided that I need to learn it a bit formally, because I just know like some concepts here and there, but I need to learn from experts or learn who know about this in detail. And that's where I like appeared for an exam in there's a institute in India called Indian Institute of Mass Communication.
Of course, yeah.
It's in Delhi.
Hmm.
So I appeared for the advertising and PR 1 year course.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think in the first attempt, actually, I didn't make it.
Hmm.
I was like a short, like waiting list. Yeah, but it
Yeah.
didn't clear. But 2 years later, so in between, I had like another interesting journey. So I started like teaching.
Hmm.
I was teaching marketing again, closer to advertising, consumer behavior, and things.
Hmm.
And then 2 years again later, I did appear, and
Hmm.
then I think I made into it. And after that, I think it was really natural for me
Hmm.
to get into advertising kind of job.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's how I started with Bates CHN Partners back in
Hmm.
like 2012.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Can I just stop you there and ask you one question, which is like, I'm really curious about this question, right? So, of course, you're telling me that how you were in your undergrad engineering, why you decided to get into strategy, understand advertising, how it works. But now that you've spent so much time here, do you think formal training is really, really helpful? or it is more like you learn on the job?
I think it's really important. At least I think for most of the people, if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have any exposure or any background as such,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, I come from really like of course a middle class family, as like the story of most of the Indians, I would say, and that too from a small town. So our exposure, like advertising, always felt like really distant,
Mm-hmm.
really like unapproachable
Mm-hmm.
for us. And also, I think we didn't have any like kind of role model or connection who are working in this kind of field. So for me, like maybe my approach always has been a bit more, I would say, methodic
Mm-hmm.
to things, to like newer challenges or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So from that perspective, I felt like I need a formal training.
Mm-hmm.
However, like later in like while working in different, let's say, different countries or different projects, I realized that it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I think the kind of role, at least the role I am in, which is strategy, which is really closely working with marketing directors or CMOs or even sometimes CEOs or head of businesses. And I think the language that they speak,
Mm-hmm.
we really need to know what they're speaking.
Yeah.
Sometimes they use a lot of marketing jargon. Sometimes they use some terms, and I feel like formal training. I think the difference I see is like knowing some words or terms
Mm-hmm.
versus actually really what do you say, interpreting it and have a deeper meaning,
Yeah.
realization, and that really helps to kind of make a conversation or hold a conversation and
Mm-hmm.
also add more value from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this fundamental training, or what we say, exposure,
Mm-hmm.
that really helps you to get a like a first start when
Yeah.
you, even like when I was even the junior, like when I was an intern as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of made me a bit more comfortable when I was even dealing with heads of other businesses.
Yeah.
And I still remember, like I had one presentation. I was like just 3 months into planning, and I was working on a like Hitachi as a client at that
Mm-hmm.
time, and like I did a presentation, and I really get like a good kind of remark,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like okay, like I am on a right path. So it also kind of helps you to give that kind of validation
Yeah.
that you have, at least you can speak
Mm-hmm.
the language. You don't appear like someone who just learning.
Yeah.
uh, because as I always also say to my members, like I will not pay you to learn.
Yeah.
I
Of
want you
course.
to add 50% value, and
Yeah.
50% you can learn on the job.
Yeah.
So I think that 50% or 60% that value you bring,
Mm-hmm.
it really kind of helps you to move faster forward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think
Got
to
it.
answer that, to me, it's really important.
Got it. So I think, guys, what Alok here is saying that, of course, you should get some kind of formal training. It's not that it's going to like prepare you 100%, but learning the basics, fundamentals, and I think most importantly, like you were saying, Alok, knowing the language, right? Because if you're talking to CMO or you're talking to brand managers, and if you're unable to understand some basic, there might be jargons, but that's how a strategist should be speaking, right? You should be able to use those words, understand those words, and of course then you learn on the job. So I think message is clear. You should get a formal training. So I'll just make a segue, Alok, right? So since we work in advertising mostly, right, and fundamentally our job is basically to grow brands, right? That you do a lot of
Hmm.
advertising, whether your thinking is traditional, modern. These days we have a lot of different words and mindsets. But can you, I know
Yeah.
it's a very big thing to talk about, but shortly for our audiences to understand that how actually advertising helps brands to grow, like what is the basic premise of it?
Hmm. Okay. Uh, I think it's a very kind of uh, hot topic, and I think it has always been a hot topic. Like how
Yeah.
much value advertising adds to
Mm-hmm.
grow brands, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there are also like different schools of thoughts. Also we know like, yeah, like there is a marketing team separate, there's a sales team separate on the
Yes.
client side, and sometimes sales think that they are the one who's driving business. Marketing think they are the one who are helping them to sell better. And sometimes even sales think that marketing is not important. I can do a promotion, I can sell it. So I think it's a very vast
Mm-hmm.
I think area to conclude, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To my perspective, I think as I studied or as I have experienced, I think among the four C's that we define, I think C of communication. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the important pillar, I would say,
Yeah.
and it's imperative for, I think, brands to really use it
Mm-hmm.
strategically. I think also, I think from my perspective, I think as a strategy person, or as a kind of agency, we always help brands to kind of bridge the gap
Mm-hmm.
between the brand world or the brand that they have and the consumer world. And
Mm-hmm.
I think agency as a mediator,
Mm-hmm.
and even like the name you have, like a marketing mediator, I think it's really important for agencies to play that role.
Mm-hmm.
And from that perspective, I think if we can really tap into the world through communication,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I think, about making brands more relevant,
Mm-hmm.
more resonating with the consumers,
Mm-hmm.
and with some kind of common communication theme.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, if we can do that
Mm-hmm.
really well, then I think we can really help the brands grow.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes also, I think it also affects, like we have seen examples where actually communication negatively impacted.
Yeah.
We call it crisis, right?
Yeah.
So if it can negatively impact, it also proves that it can positively impact as well, right? So
Spoken like a true engineer, right? Like hypothesis, if this can be negative, hence proof that it has a positive impact also. Brilliant.
yeah, so yeah, I think yeah, I think it's really important, and I think it really helps.
Mm-hmm.
I think but I think we just need to learn how to do it more efficiently
Mm-hmm.
for the brands,
Mm-hmm.
and not to say that this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
I think most of the time we get into that debate,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually it kind of it's a loss of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I always want to stay away from those debates. I
Yeah.
think we just need to help the brands to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and I think communication or advertising is a really powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it. So guys, I think if I were to take, like for me, the key takeaway from here was that basically, if you are creating a brand, you have a product or service to sell, then the job of basically everybody in agency, and I think in agency it starts with strategists, somebody like Alok, that there are two worlds. This is what you want to sell, this is your brand, and then there are consumers, right? So people like Alok, people working in agencies, they kind of bridge that gap, because ultimately, if your brand is not resonating with the consumer, he's not going to buy your stuff. So in a nutshell, that is what, that is how brands grow, and that is what, strategic planning and creative, everything which happens in the agencies, that's what we do. Next question, Alok. I think it'll go on beautifully on what we are discussing, right? Uh, so I think you and me, when we started, our generation is basically which has seen both the sides of, pre-digital era, the
Mm,
analog or traditional, whatever you call it.
mm,
I'm sure when we started, TV was, it is
right.
still big, but TV was the main thing, print was the main thing,
Still, yeah, yeah,
doing
right.
KVs was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
main thing. And then we saw, this penetration of mobile and internet is increasing, social media is coming in, and
Mm,
then you have digital. What I have seen, Alok,
right.
and we have discussed this before also, right? So if you started off, you entered marketing field as somebody who was only doing digital, versus
Mm,
somebody who has experience of also doing like very traditional kind of brand building via TV and print. There is a
mm,
confusion because of these two mindsets, right? I'm just particularly speaking about two. I know there are many. So why is this confusion? And if you were taking, if you use this platform for you to explain that how can we let this confusion go, because ultimately we are doing the same job. What is your perspective
Hmm.
on that?
Hmm. Aman, I think like confusion is a big word to me
Mm-hmm.
as well. What I feel is for the insider, like who has seen the progression
Mm-hmm.
of advertising or communication or even marketing. I think the confusion is only for someone who is like new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like who is coming to the industry. Maybe they will find it a bit. I would say not confusing, but maybe vague
Mm-hmm.
for them to really treat like what kind of direction they should take.
Mm-hmm.
But for I think really I think for the insiders, I think most of the people really clear
Mm-hmm.
about what does each of the component or each of the evolution from marketing communication to technology can do for the
Mm-hmm.
brand.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think the problem sometimes is where people have really strong point of views where
Mm-hmm.
they think like this is the only way to go. Like for
Yeah.
example, everyone like few years ago there was like really interesting debate, and like whichever like conferences I would attend, there was one topic which was like TV is dead.
I know.
Right, you remember, right?
Yeah.
And now nobody is talking about it because they realize that okay, it was like a good kind of headline to attract eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
However, the reality is TV still is there. If you look at most of the marketing plans, I would still see ATL, BTL, or even omni-channel, or even like a lot of media agencies. They trying to like push on digital because, of course, you need to be where the consumers are.
Exactly.
But TV and each of the kind of platform or the what do you say technology has some kind of role to play. uh, I think most of the time, at least from the marketing perspective, I think most of the time this debate remains very much like surrounded by the people who work in agency or the nature of the agency that they work in. But I think from the client side, they're really clear that they know that it's about coexistence. And I think most of the people from the client or marketing side, I would say, they they have already figured out what role each thing can play in their
Mm-hmm.
business, depending on their business, depending on their category. For
Mm-hmm.
example, like maybe a category which is like a dark or surrogate, for
Mm-hmm.
example, they're still having most of the things a bit traditional, I would say, and because there are also a lot of rules that they have to play.
True.
Whereas, like when there is no like even FMCG, for example, like
Mm-hmm.
for them, like most of the time is like they will be doing what do you say, like mostly traditional,
Yeah.
and these kind of things will be really like one-off kind of activity. However, I think as long as uh, if we realize that they can complement each other rather than canceling each other, I would say that that confusion won't be there.
Yeah.
And one last point is, I think we really need to understand uh, what like as I say, like there is a term or jargon, and
Mm-hmm.
what is behind or beneath it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is digital
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
what is technology, what is e-commerce.
Yeah.
And if we understand that, we will know that something is kind of a tool, something is kind of a technique, something is kind of ecosystem. And if we know that, then we will be able to differentiate really clearly, and then I don't think there will be any confusion. And just to like give one example, like I see like a lot of yeah, especially in Vietnam, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think I came here in 2014, where like digital was like really small,
Mm-hmm.
uh, rising, I would say, but really small. Mostly mainline, what we call mainline, which is like
Mm-hmm.
TV, out of home
Mm-hmm.
activations. I still remember we used to do like big activations here as well. And then we saw the rise of digital, but it was like still slow.
Yeah.
And recently we saw technology and coming in and trying to kind of not disrupt, I would say, but trying to complicate
Mm-hmm.
our work,
Mm-hmm.
which was really simple before, and
Yeah.
now trying to complicate because okay, there are multiple touch points, and then
Mm-hmm.
we need to prioritize those touch points and things like that. And I think as a market where, like, if we look at Vietnam, and it's kind of one of the fastest growing in Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Really, like penetration wise, still like out of 92 million, 93 million people, like 80-90% are already on digital.
Yeah.
Almost 60 million people on Facebook, for
Yeah.
example. uh, Instagram is still small, but there are like local messaging apps and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
the adoption is really fast. There are a lot of digital banks that are coming.
Mm-hmm.
And what we see, like for some businesses who are inherently or maybe like born in 2000 or 2010, for them it's really easy to make that difference.
Of course.
Uh, but for brands which are really traditional and has kind of a legacy and things like that, I think they're still trying to figure ways
Mm-hmm.
for them to kind of combine
Mm-hmm.
those newer things. But I think for them it's more like they have to do the whole kind of shift
Yeah.
if they want to really go that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of cost, and it's also time consuming, and it's
Yeah.
there are a lot of processes that has been involved. So they're a bit slow
Mm-hmm.
from that perspective. So I think in terms of Vietnam market, I would say at least for the new age brands, which I would say, I think they're really clear
Yeah.
what thing can do what.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the bigger brands, they figured out,
Mm-hmm.
but they, like, I think they are acting on it, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it will take time.
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
No, I
yeah,
think I think that's a great answer, because if I were to kind of summarize again for our audiences, right? Uh, it's all about basics, right? If you really understand how advertising works, what is how the brands are built, then all these shifts which are happening, they don't really matter, because the way brands are built is exactly the same. And I think, like you were saying, Alok, I mean, having this debate also does not make sense, because in today's world almost everything is being delivered by digital, all right, like,
yeah.
you know, TV is becoming, smart TV, connected TV, linear, there was linear TV.
Right,
In
right.
fact, one thing which I realized was that, I was a lot into subscription, and I was a big fan of
Mm-hmm.
Netflix.
Right,
And
right.
then you realize that it is all like a 360-degree thing, right? Netflix
Yeah.
has an ad supported tier in US, in many countries. Ad supported tier is making them more money than people who are actually paying more for non advertising tiers, right?
Mm,
So
right, right, right,
in the end, it's going to become like cable TV, right? Like Netflix would be like a bundle of cable which we used to subscribe to. There would be sports channels, entertainment channels, and all that stuff, right? And
right.
second thing, like you were saying, I think, which also is a part of your job strategies, it's about reaching people, right? Like, you can have a great insight, you can have a great brand, you can have a great message and film and all that stuff, but
Right,
eventually you have to be where people are, right? So if
right.
they're still watching TV, I would still do TV, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
If 50%, 70, 80% of them are watching TV plus YouTube, then YouTube gives me additional reach or additional frequency. Same for, Instagram. So that's how big brands are thinking. And again, basics are same, right? And maybe slightly different thing, like you were saying, for new age brands is especially brands which are built on digital, right? Like
Hmm.
digital products, apps, all these,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or Ubers of the world or Grabs of the world. They are fundamentally built on digital, so it makes sense for them to do more of digital and do less of traditional. Maybe do it once they have kind of reached a threshold of reaching all the people with internet. Maybe they will do a
Right,
brand building beyond that, but it's a function of how that country's population is adopting digital phone, what kind of internet do they have, what is their app usage and all that stuff. So again, guys, basics, try to understand basics first, then you wouldn't even consider this as a debate, right? Cool. My
right.
next question, which is very related, Alok, to what we have been discussing, but slightly different angle, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is because a lot of people, because D2C brands, new age
Hmm.
brands, everybody's trying to be entrepreneur. uh,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
One question they have is that, oh, when I speak to people in advertising, or in fact all the people who have been to big schools and they have studied marketing, they would say that the rules which you tell me about advertising, like reaching people, or the frequency, or physical and mental availability, your
Hmm.
cases are always about big brands, P&G,
Hmm.
Unilever,
Hmm.
PepsiCo, Coca-Cola.
Hmm.
But I'm a small brand, right? I do not have that kind of money.
Hmm.
So what would be your advice to somebody who's a new age brand, uh, but they have limited budgets, but they're not
Hmm.
able to relate to the advice which we give them, which comes from the angle of big brands?
Hmm. Okay. Uh, I think through my experience, or based on the experience, I think what I have seen, like the way big brands behave, because I think one is of course the aspect of budget,
Mm-hmm.
which is important, of course,
Mm-hmm.
when we, as you say, like we want to reach X number of people, and hence, and they are like touching, like in a big market, like if it is a big brand,
Mm-hmm.
it's already like in terms of visibility is already there.
There.
People know already the brand. So but still I think they still I would say, like what I have seen, most of the big brands, they follow this 70-20-10 kind of rule.
Mm-hmm.
So 70 is still about doing what is basic,
Mm-hmm.
or what has been working so far.
Mm-hmm.
20% is something that they want to explore,
Mm-hmm.
or add, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And 10% something they really want to push,
Yeah.
because they still want to be kind of relevant or resonating with the audience. For the small brands, I feel most of the time they struggle between the brand building and the sales, and
Yes.
it's and it's kind of a chicken and egg, I would say, that which one they should prioritize. But I would say, and I think it's really important for
Mm-hmm.
a brand. I think specific, I cannot generalize it, because I think it really depends on the category. As example, as you have given, like for example, Grab or Uber, they were like, they already had the phone number, people already downloaded the apps because the utility was so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
that the reach, from that perspective wasn't the issue, because people were sold to the promise or the
Mm-hmm.
benefit that is really relevant. However, I think when competition comes in, that's where you realize that there is a requirement of differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
There is a requirement that they need to kind of have that mental association separately, and of course superiority, or what we would say is like loyalty from
Mm-hmm.
that perspective. So most of the time, I think for the small brands, I would still suggest brand creating a brand is really important. And I
Mm-hmm.
think having a brand and having a business,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, even though like for big brands, it looks complementary. I
Yeah.
think for small brands, I think it's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think brand, uh, the of course business should support whatever the brand wants to say, or
Mm-hmm.
brand wants to communicate, or brand wants to reach out. If the product is not available, even if you still create like communication about it, then it's a waste, right?
Yeah.
For sure. So that's like a common sense, but I feel like creating a brand is really important, because even if you are small, you will be big one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these smaller steps of creating a brand and then adding and building onto it
Mm-hmm.
uh, really can make you have a long term
Mm-hmm.
kind of a plan,
Mm-hmm.
versus what I have seen, like most of the small brands, they really focus on the business. They
Yeah.
really focus on the like what they call bottom line,
Mm-hmm.
and they forget the brand.
Mm-hmm.
They think my business is my brand.
Yeah.
And I think later, because maybe when they start, there's not enough competition, they have a unique value proposition, they have some kind
Mm-hmm.
of edge. But
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to come to product or technology or everything, it's like the edge gonna be gone in like 1, 2, 3 years,
Yeah.
right? And then you will realize that, oh, I am like similar,
Mm-hmm.
and people cannot see, and then you start, so you're already 3 years behind or four
Yeah.
years behind in doing that thing. So I feel like for small brands, they really need to learn. What I
Mm-hmm.
have not seen is most of these brands being built, mostly being built by some like new age brands being built by tech people.
Mm-hmm.
They are not like inherently like someone who had that understanding of consumers or
Mm-hmm.
marketing or
Yeah.
brand building.
Yeah.
Like the famous example we always follow is like Steve Jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's that kind of a person who really understood the value of the brand on day one,
Of
and
course.
everything else is a history, right?
Yeah.
So from small, even in that kind of a era,
Yeah.
making those kind of ads like 84 won't be like 84 anymore,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I think because of that, it could become the brand that we can see.
Yeah.
And I think even for small brands, uh, I think small for me, maybe about business, they may be small, but I
Mm-hmm.
think if their mindset or the vision is big, then I think they should invest on brand as the
Absolutely.
priority. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think completely resonate with you, Alok, on this because it reminds me the way you were explaining, right? The brand versus performance and business. I was having a conversation with a friend, right?
Hmm.
And he works in a like a new age brand, right? In
Hmm.
accessories, mostly
Hmm.
e-commerce, but they have physical presence also. And he
Hmm.
was telling me something very, I was trying to tell him why building brand is important. And he
Hmm.
was telling me that I am number 4 or number 5 player in the market,
Hmm.
slightly matured category, but the thing is that my market is so price sensitive that even the
Hmm.
market leader,
Hmm.
if it increases its price by 5%, it loses its market share, right?
Hmm.
And I said, you just kind of supported what I was trying to tell you, that
Hmm.
brand growing, building brands is also gives you price elasticity, right? If you increase your price, if you have built a brand, customer will accept it, right?
Right.
If the customer is not accepting it, your number one player in your category, that means it has also not built a brand, right?
Right.
In
Yeah.
fact, if you can be smart, exactly like you said, maybe you have small budget, step by step, right? Put 10% of the money, 15% of the money. One day will come when you will beat them, right?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you will not beat them on volume, but you will beat them because your brand has given the ability to charge a premium and your profit margins go up. Again,
Right.
back to business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Completely
Awesome.
agree. Completely
Awesome.
agree.
Great point. So I think we'll slightly change and get to the fun part of it. I have
Uh
like
huh.
a rapid fire kind of questions, three, four
Uh huh.
questions.
Uh huh.
Just go with the flow, Alok, like whatever comes to your head. I will ask you a couple
Okay.
of questions. Okay. So my first question is, what is your like favorite book on advertising?
Okay. I think that's easy. Like as I said, like I started. So okay, we don't have much time, right? So I have to be like on point, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Ogilvy and advertising.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is there a favorite piece of advertisement which is like your number one, number two?
Uh, I like I think for me, like any, like of course we have seen a lot of ads winning awards and things
Hmm.
like that, but I think I always give a lot of importance to uh, like some kind of creative pieces that really
Hmm.
stays with you
Hmm.
at throughout your life stage. It's like a classic
Hmm.
song, right?
Hmm.
Whenever you are alone, you kind of sing it.
Hmm.
So for me, like you may, I don't know if it is really an ad, but I still
Yeah.
feel it's a piece of ad, which is like if you remember, Mile Sur Mera
Oh, of course.
Tumhara.
Of
Right,
course.
and I think for me it's like it is a greatest piece of advertisement in a way,
Hmm.
which is like we call these days kind of music videos or stuff like that, right? But it was like a kind of anthem, I would say, which talks about integration, national integration, and it was like the favorite song in a way. But
Yeah.
when I also later discovered, I realized that it was a kind of campaign
Yes. Yes.
done by Prasar Bharati or
Yes.
some government organization like Ministry of Industry, Information Broadcasting. And
Yes.
I feel like what a brilliant campaign that is, which really kind of connects you with the nation
Mm-hmm.
uh, across, and it also shows you how diverse your country is, even for Indians. Like because that time the access, like mostly we used to read about India through books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and stories and geography books and stuff like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that visual representation, where in one video they showed the whole India
Mm-hmm.
through language and through visuals and landscapes, and I think it really created a long-lasting impact on me. Yeah. So sorry for the long answer.
No, no, I love your answer, Alok, because I will tell you, I have a similar thing which happened with me. So
Uh-huh.
recently, my wife thought she's lactose intolerant, so she didn't used to
Hmm.
drink milk. Recently,
Hmm.
she started drinking milk. Like she figured out it's fine, whatever, right? But
Hmm.
when I saw her drinking milk, you know what I used to do? Like first thing which came to my head, I started singing "Doodh, doodh, doodh, doodh." Do you remember that? Doodh hai glass full. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Wow, what are you singing?" I was like, this used to be like a campaign on TV. It
Yeah.
was also like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
song, which was about,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, some
I think Amul,
dairy,
right?
Amul, or
Amul.
the
Yeah.
Milk Association
Amul,
of
or I
India.
think Dairy Corporation, Milk
Yeah, yeah.
Association of
But it
India.
was also
Right.
like an
Right.
ad campaign. It was done through nice, music
Yeah.
video, and I still remember the whole
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
So cool. I love your answer.
Yeah.
You did
Yeah.
not give like a very typical answer. Okay, I'll ask a third and last question of rapid fire round, which is slightly tough. As a strategist,
Uh-huh.
as a professional working in the
Uh,
agency from such a long time, if you were to pick
uh,
that what is most important
uh.
while building a brand in terms of assets, differentiation or distinctiveness?
Okay. If I have these two options, uh, I would choose differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really important these days because there are so many things which looks like copy or
Mm-hmm.
me too,
Mm-hmm.
or you say following.
Mm-hmm.
I think differentiation can it will really help you, even though it may be a niche,
Mm-hmm.
maybe when you start. But
Mm-hmm.
as we always know, niche will always grow and it will be always sizable.
Mm-hmm.
As long as uh, if you have that vision or that
Yeah.
ability to define it really clearly. But I would say differentiation is remarkably different
Mm-hmm.
versus distinctiveness could be just one edge, one plus
Mm-hmm.
kind of a distinctiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if there are five people standing, and if someone is distinctive versus someone is different, I would really notice a different guy
Mm-hmm.
than just a distinctive guy. So I feel differentiation.
Okay. Cool. 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 And I think I will go with one more question. We have few minutes, Alok. Uh,
Okay.
Again, one of my favorite questions, and I'm asking you this because you have worked in different markets, right? Working in different
Hmm.
markets, does it, and working on different clients, different cultures, right? Does it make you a better strategist?
Better strategist.
Yeah, in some way, if you think so, you can say no. Also,
uh,
I'm okay.
no, because I'm saying being a better strategist is always like a it's like a next milestone, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
always good. You always want
yeah.
to be better.
Of course,
But
of course.
yeah, but just to answer, I think yes, it does. It does because uh, I think fundamentally for strategy, as I always have defined, and of course people are defined. Strategies are all about making choices, right?
Yeah.
And choices with the resources that you have. And I think, the knowledge or the wisdom where you can make decisions. And from that perspective, I think different markets, because it has different kind of sometimes nuance, sometimes general, sometimes really kind of specific learning,
Yeah.
and human cultural also behavior as a result. I think you really get kind of open or exposed,
Mhm.
and from that perspective, your, I would say, the canvas or
Mhm.
your like mindset is a bit
Yeah.
broader.
Yeah.
uh, and also I feel like when you like even thinking, like for example, I started in India, I worked in India a bit, and then I came to
Mhm.
Vietnam.
Mhm.
um, my always, what do you say, north star was never India or never Vietnam, right? My north star was always something bigger, higher, which may not be really local.
Mhm.
And I think from that perspective, from that canvas, and that openness that you get because you work in different markets, it really helps you to a bit more, I would say, um, hardworking or global,
Yeah.
and even from the solutions to the brand sometimes that you come up with, you have that kind of background,
Mhm.
and you have that kind of like we always say, like and in sometimes we also observe this, right? Oh, we are not that big, we are this small, and
Yeah.
we are here, all right? And we always feel like, why you are thinking small?
Mhm.
uh, One day you will
Mhm.
go big. And there are like brands now I also see, like who are like strictly local, or they
Yeah.
always being proud about being local.
Yeah.
Now they are going
Going big.
international.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they are going international in different markets. There are brands from Vietnam listing in like a US stock market.
Mhm.
And I feel like if I have that kind of background, then I think it really helps to broader,
Mhm.
and also make the when we give solutions or strategies, make the other side, which we call client,
Yeah.
like believe or see what could be the possibility, a wider
Mhm.
possibility.
Mhm.
And it it really helps from that perspective as well, when we talk, because even as I think most of the time the clients, they also really open to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
Hey, you worked in that market, how was it, what were the dynamics, what was the cultural fabric, how it is different, is there anything that we can learn, is there any case study that we can refer to? And
Mhm.
I think it always helps to kind of have that sharing, have that perspectives
Mhm.
in place,
Mhm.
to just add more value
Yeah.
to the input that you're giving. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome because it is also reminding me on the client which we worked together for a short time, like a tractor brand. And I think
Yeah.
you were talking about background, like this is not about different countries, but I think we were able to crack a very good campaign in
Hmm.
such a short time, maybe like in a 1 or 2 meetings, was
Yeah.
because of the background of yours and mine, right?
Yeah.
Which was it was a farming client, right?
Farming. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you never know that your exposure to a different culture, or you growing up, or your parents or your friends, anything, right? Your spouse, if you are a keen observer of people, right? Or culture, everything really
Yeah.
helps you, especially in
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
field, right? Because if we did not have that kind of background, right, I don't think it would have been so easy to crack it, which I realized
Yeah.
after I stopped working on it, right? It is difficult for people who do not have a
uh,
background to crack it so quickly, because
right.
it is obvious to you and me, not so obvious to people who don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
that. Cool.
Correct.
I
Right. Right.
think
Agree. Agree on
that's
that.
that's the time we have, Alok. Thank you once again for joining us all the way from Vietnam. It was a pleasure talking to you. And guys, do not forget to subscribe this channel, like it, and share it if you enjoyed our conversation.
Okay. Thanks, Aman. Thank you again for this really interesting questions that you have asked. I think it's really fundamental questions. I think we in day to day life we really encounter. But I think because of you, I think I took time to really kind of think and answer. I hope the answers are good enough for the viewers, also clear enough. And yeah, I think you come to please visit Vietnam, and I will show
Of
you
course,
around.
of course.
Yeah,
It's been a long time, Alok. I think I will definitely come and see you and have some maybe one more discussion. Maybe record live, sitting together. I think sitting together will be completely different experience. So
different. Yeah,
let's do that.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Alok.
Sure.
Pleasure
Look
talking to
forward. Yeah.
you. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Take care.
Aman.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All the best. Bye.